Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mataure. If you've never seen this face before, consider clicking the subscribe button down below and joining the family. Today we're talking all about sleep training, the hows, the whys, the whens, how did we do it, how's my baby sleeping through the night. Can I just say, guys, life on the other side is so beautiful. Like, I am now that mom who can say, yeah, no, my baby goes down at 6:30 and doesn't wake up again till 5:30. So yeah, I can now enjoy, that side of life. So if you want to know more about sleep training, how I did it, and the whole shebang, keep watching the video. A couple of months ago, I put out a video telling you guys about how I was struggling. I just had a bit of a rant about some of the mom struggles I was going through, and one of the major issues was sleep. I was terribly sleep deprived. My son would wake up every 1 to 2 hours all night long, and I'm not talking about a newborn. At the time, he was like 11 months. He'd wake up every 2 hours, not because he was hungry, but he just wanted to like nurse. He just liked the feeling, so he'd like latch on my boob and go and fall asleep. And then the moment I pop him over, he's like, woo! And that was how our nights went every single night. I was so horribly sleep deprived. I was losing my mind. I felt like I had bits of my sanity missing. I knew I needed to do something. So I've always been a supporter of sleep training. From the time my son was about 4 months or so, when he hit the 4-month sleep regression. If you're a mom, you know about the 4-month sleep regression. And we did like gentle sleep training where we taught him how to fall asleep on his own, right? Which was great because before bed, we'd put him down, he'd go to sleep, and then obviously then he would wake up every 2 hours or whatever. But before bed, he knew how to fall asleep on his own. Cool. So we carried on like that from the time he was about 4 months. We'd sleep train him on and off, we'd travel, go back on our rules. You know how it is when things happen, life happens and you backslide. Eventually, 11 months, I had enough. I was done. Now, take note, I'm no sleep training expert. There are people who are paid to do this kind of thing, who are certified, who are qualified to do all of that. Please don't take this as any professional advice. There's so many sleep trainers that you can get in touch with if you need professional help. I'm just going to tell you guys what I did. So when he was 11 months, I was going absolutely crazy from the lack of sleep, and I decided to sleep train him properly. So my sister-in-law had sleep trained her son, and she saw such amazing results. I mean, his whole demeanor had changed. He became a happier baby. He was sleeping through the night. And when you're a new mom and someone tells you that your baby can sleep through the night, you're like, no, there's no way. My kid can't do it. Well, you know how you sit and look at other moms and you're super envious because their kids are sleeping through the night and yours just is not, and is not even close. So I spoke to my sister-in-law about it, and she told me some of the steps that she took when she was sleep training her kid, and I just knew like I was ready. So there are all sorts of different sleep training methods. You guys can look them up. There's like the Fervor Method, which is the crying out, which is the most popular. Then there's like the gentle sleep training techniques, the fading techniques. You guys can do all your research about that. I'm not going to tell you all about that, but I decided to go with the Fervor Method. So one of the major things that I had realized about my son was that he is an extremely light sleeper. Like if you just clear your throat in the room, he'll wake up instantly. So because we were room sharing, him, my husband and I, there are times when maybe like my husband would mumble in his sleep and the baby wakes up, he's like, huh, what, daddy, what, let's play kind of thing. So we realized how we were actually really disturbing him. So it was now like, like a vicious cycle where like he's sleep deprived, so he's cranky, so he's not sleeping because he's sleep deprived. And through all of this process, like I was going slowly descending into madness. So we knew it was time to do something about it. So first things first, we moved him out of our room. Well, actually, we moved out of his room into our bedroom. So we gave him his own space, made sure that there were no like lights or anything that would distract him at night, and make sure the room was pitch black. So initially we would leave like a night light on because, we'd be getting up with him and would want to see him at night. But my sister-in-law advised that we give him like pitch black, like total darkness when he sleeps, because apparently like darkness is comforting for them. So that was one of the first things that we did. And before we started really sleep training him, we started getting him into a routine. So one of the major things with kids is that kids work well when they know what to expect. So before we start sleep training your child, there's some things that you're going to want to do in preparation before that. Number one, you want to give your child a teddy bear or a little blanket or a lovey or whatever it is that they can then associate with bedtime. For example, my son has this guy. This is Robine. I got Robine from my sister-in-law. He absolutely loves Robine. So before we even started sleep training, like way before, we would give him Robine to play with before bed. So he now got into the habit where he knew, okay, when I have Robine, he'll take Robine, he'll cuddle him, he'll fall asleep. So you're going to want to find something that is not going to be dangerous for you to have in the crib with your baby, but something that your baby can associate with sleep. Number two, you are going to want to set up a good bedtime routine. So for your routine, it's completely up to you. I know some people use the 3B system, which is like bath, book, and bed. It's up to you. You guys do what works for your lifestyle. For me, I found that I couldn't get home in time to be able to bath him because by the time I get home, he's overtired, he's grumpy, he's all that. So we made sure that our bedtime routine was something that was simple and something that could be done really quickly if need be. I'm going to give you more details about what we do in our routine a little bit later in the video. Number three, you're going to want to be consistent. Trust me, when you start the sleep training journey, you need to be consistent. Don't buckle because you're going to confuse your child and make it even worse. So trust me, it's a lot easier said than done, but you're really going to want to be consistent. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you guys how we got our son sleep trained. So like I mentioned earlier, we moved out of his room. We got him used to being in his crib, being in a room on his own, and then we went into the Fervor Method. So basically what this is you do your bedtime routine, which for us consisted of us playing with him for a few minutes before bed. We change his diaper, we switch off the lights, we cuddle, we pray, and then we put him down. So that's basically what you're going to want to do. So you get your child to a point where they're sleepy but not overtired, but awake, right? So they're drowsy, but they're awake. You cuddle them, you do whatever your bedtime routine is. You put them in the crib and you walk away. I know your kid is definitely going to cry. Like, it doesn't matter which sleep training method you decide to use, whether it's going to be the fading method, the gentle training, the Fervor method, there's going to be tears. What's now up to you is how much you can take in terms of tears, but it's not easy. So anyway, we put him down. And so we were using the 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 method, where you put him down, you let him cry for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you go back in, would pat him on the back or on the belly and tell him, okay, MJ, it's time to sleep. So you should also have like particular keywords that you use, no matter how small your baby is, so that when they hear these words, they understand what you mean. So for me, I couldn't do the checks because whenever he'd see me, he'd go absolutely, he'd go completely crazy. So my husband would do the checks. And he'd walk in, he'd pat him on the belly and say, oh, okay, it's okay, MJ, it's sleep time, son. So you can only stay in there for less than a minute. So you rub him, calm him down if you can, and then walk out. After you walk out, they're going to scream even louder. He's going to just like lose it. After 5 minutes, you go back in. After 7 minutes, you do the same thing. And then after 10 minutes, then after 15 minutes, then after 20 minutes. So it's now up to you. I think as a parent, you then need to use your discretion. Because your child's cries. There's a cry like, wah, wah, I don't want to sleep, I'm not happy with this. Then there's a wah, I'm in danger kind of cry. Your child's cry. If something doesn't feel right to you as a parent, abandon ship if you must. But for the most part, your child is going to whine. They're going to whine, and there's nothing wrong with them, but they are going to cry. And it's really difficult to hear your kid crying. I mean, there's a reason why it's used as like a form of torture, because it literally is torture. I would sit in a chair and be completely distraught. Sometimes he'll be crying. I also want to be crying on my end. It's not easy. So you definitely need emotional support, whether it's in terms of your partner or someone else who understands what you're doing, or someone who can hold your hand through the process. For me, that was my sister-in-law. I would text her through the crying, and it just really helped me to stay strong. And of course, after a while, I think the first night, he fell asleep after 15 minutes. So yeah, it wasn't easy, but I mean, he eventually fell asleep, and then basically you continue to do that through most of the night. So there is a difference between sleep training, which is teaching them how to fall asleep on their own, and night weaning, which is when you stop giving them feeds at night. So I was doing both at the time. I decided to sleep train and night wean, and that meant, so it was my first time going the whole night without breastfeeding. So obviously, as a mom tip, you're going to be very engorged. You're going to be very, very engorged, but just pump a little bit to manage it. Unless you want to maintain your milk supply throughout the night, then go ahead and pump, but don't pump too much so that your milk supply at night starts to decrease. One of the things that kept me sane actually during the time he was crying was a baby monitor. So we have this one here. Guys, I highly, 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 highly recommend every single parent out there to get a baby monitor. It's so handy. This one here shows video as well, so we would be able to watch him, and I could see him rolling around. I could see him being angry, but it just gave me a lot of reassurance knowing that he's safe. Because trust me, when he starts crying, the things that will be going through your head, like for me, I'd be thinking, oh my gosh, is there a snake in his crib? Is something biting him? Is he choking? So being able to see him on this, like, totally kept me going. Basically, so once you get started with sleep training, you go through night 1. Night 2 will be better. Night 3, they tend to regress a little bit. You feel the need to kind of break. Don't do it. Stick through it. I promise you, it takes time. I would recommend that anyone who wants to sleep train, give it 14 days. Like, you need to give it a reasonable amount of time for your kid to also get used to it. It's not easy. They're also learning. But you'd be surprised how quickly your child adapts. Like when he slept through the night the first time, I was like, what? Like, is this my kid? My kid who wakes up every hour? I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. And it's just done so much for me as a mom. I really think I'm a better mother now that I'm resting. It's done so much for my relationship. Like I feel like I've gotten a piece of me back. So that feels really, really good. So just a mom update for you guys as well. So I mentioned in my breastfeeding video that I didn't know how much longer I was going to breastfeed for. At the 11-month mark, I called it quits. Yeah, I'm done. And to be honest, I've never been so happy. It feels really, really good to have my body back. I know, breastfeed till 18 months and all that jazz, but I told you guys already that's never gonna be me. But I'm feeling so much better. I feel so good. Even just, I can feel like my hormones are kind of balancing again. So yeah, I feel really good. The fact that he's sleeping through the night again has just done so much. Just a TMI for you, like your body really does regulate again, and you're not as dry as as you are when you're breastfeeding. If you know, you know. So yeah, it's been a good time. So if you're considering sleep training out there, I highly recommend doing it, but do your research. It's not an easy thing to do, and you do require support. And when you are sleep training, it's really difficult to do it when everyone in the house isn't aware of what's happening. So I also had those challenges with my helper because she didn't believe in it. For her, she's like, you're leaving the baby to cry, you're doing this, doing that. And I sort of had to take the decision and say, look, I'm the mom, and you don't need to understand why I'm doing it. You just need to follow instructions. So sometimes that part can be a little bit difficult if people don't really get it. You can be judged for it, but at the end of the day, it's you, your baby, and your sanity that must come first. So yeah, I highly recommend it. To all my sleep deprived moms out there is light at the end of the tunnel. I promise. 2 months ago, I was you. Trust me. I'm not even saying this like, oh my gosh, it's just I've been having it for ages. 2 months ago, that was me. But I wanted to let you know that it is possible. You can do it. And if you need any more tips on sleep training, again, I'm not an expert, but I'm happy to share my experience with any of you guys who want to do the same thing. Thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And let me know in the comment section below, did you sleep train your kid? If you did, how did you do it? How did you go about it? How sweet is life on the other side? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.